Meantime, there's this, a provocative column appearing in the Washington Post suggesting that white men are really the ones to blame for America's mass shootings. The article is written by twins, identical twins, Charlotte and Harriet Childress, who describe themselves as researchers and consultants on social and political issues. The twins say that they have received almost $1 million in taxpayer-funded grants from the National Science Foundation throughout their careers. And in this column, they argue that if life were equitable, white male gun rights advocates would be asked to explain, among other things, what facets of white male culture create so many mass shootings. And why do white men buy, sell, and manufacture guns for profit, attend gun shows, and demonstrate for unrestricted gun access disproportionately more than people of other ethnicities or races? Those are just a few of the questions thrown out by Charlotte and Harriet. Joining me now, Lars Larson, who is a white male gun owner and a syndicated radio host with Compass Media Networks, and Leslie Marshall, who's a syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor. Lars, you want to take a shot at that?
Sure, I'd be glad to take a shot at it because the sisters, the twins, live right in my backyard. And as you said, they got $1 million in taxpayer money to produce a bunch of drivel. And here's where the drivel doesn't add up. If you look back over the last 30 years, there have been 65 mass shooting events in the United States. About 40 of them were committed by white males, evil white males. Now, I didn't go to college at Albany Law School like you did, but I can do the math on that. That's about 70%. And strangely enough, white people are about 70% of the United States population. So it seems as though white males or white people are not overrepresented or underrepresented in these evil acts of murder. The other thing to think about is those acts of murder took the lives of about 500 people, just over, and injured or wounded about 500 more. That's about 7.5 deaths per year. It would take Chicago, well, probably about the first month of the year to have that many gun homicides. But those are mostly done with pistols, which the president and the liberal nuts in Congress are not trying to control. And I'd love to see how is Leslie going to indict me as a white male and a possible future terrorist?
Leslie?
Well, I am not a white male, and I don't have a gun, and glad I'm not living in the backyard having written this, Lars. But I have to say, first of all, with regard to Chicago, please look at that. I was very happy for them. Past 2 months, their homicide rates are actually down to numbers back in the 50s. They're hoping for less than 300 at the end of 2013.
But their prosecution rates stink.
Less than one a day.
No, I agree.
Wow.
I
their
agree
prosecution rates stink.
I am very conservative on crime as a liberal, which many liberals aren't happy with me with, and I agree with you on that 100%. Mm-hmm. Lars, with regard to this, and when you talk about how many white men are in the population, we do have to look at realities and facts, okay? The majority of men in prison are white. The majority of murders are committed by white men. Rapes, pedophiles, abductions, and massacres. When we in this country are saying, okay, regardless of where you and I may stand with guns, we all agree mental illness has to be addressed, that these people need treatment, and that we want to keep guns out of people like this's hands. So why isn't a valid question to pose, one, and two, something that perhaps the NRA, these women, our government, state by state, should consider so that we can make our country safer when these white men, serial killers even, obviously even at a young age, have many times mental illness,
let me say this. But let me say this, because these twins may disagree with you on that, Leslie, because they say white men try to divert attention from gun control when they talk about mental health issues. That's just the white guys trying to say, look over here, there's no gun issue. It's all about mental health, because they say that women and girls who have mental health issues don't pick up guns and go out and create mass shooting situations, Lars.
Megan, can I take a shot at that?
Yeah,
because here's the thing. If there is a racial component to it, I believe that it is entirely a mental health issue. Crazy people kill people in this country, like it or not. But if there's a racial component to you, Leslie is a little wrong on her facts. Almost 50% of the murders in this country are of victims who are black. mostly black men. And nearly all of the black men shot or killed by some other means in this country are killed by other black men. Now, black men only make up 7% of the U.S. population, yet they make up 50% of the U.S. population of homicide victims. And as I said, the most likely person for a black man to be murdered by is another black man. So if you want to focus on gender or race, those are the real statistics. But the fact that these sisters say the white power structure is the thing that diverts everyone's attention by blaming mental illness. Gee, take a look at Adam Lanza. Take a look at Jared Luffner. Take a look at James Holmes. Take a look at Mr. Roberts, the man who shot up the Clackamas Mall and murdered 2 people. They're crazy. That's the problem. It's not about gender and it's not about race.
I mean, obviously there have been unfortunately many mass murderers who are not white men. I mean, there's been too many in general, and there's been too many people of color and people who are white as well. I mean, John Allen Muhammad, the DC sniper, comes to mind. Sung Wee Cho, who shot up Virginia Tech, comes to mind. But in any event, the folks who are like expanding on this a little further, Leslie, and the Wall Street Journal did an interesting retort by James Taranto to the twins piece, points out that some of the folks who are on board with this theory have taken it to another level, suggesting it is white men who commit these crimes, and then it is white men who advocate on behalf of guns in this country because they have another issue. And they cite somebody from BuzzFlash as saying, and I quote, "You won't find anyone willing to dare say it much in the media, but a good percentage of the white men who oppose gun control of any sort are just afraid that without their guns, their phallic power will be reduced to size. You can feel at least temporarily reassured when a long-barreled assault weapon compensates for just another average manhood." So they go on to, and this is not the first time, let's be honest, that we've heard people say this, that if you like guns, it's because you're trying to overcompensate for something.
Well, it
you
reminds
want me
me
to
of
answer that,
what was
Megan?
it, the
No, I'm
movie?
giving that to Leslie first.
I got this one, Lars. This is what I want, Lars. I remember years ago a movie called Bobby Deerfield, in which they said a race car was an extension of a man's, genitalia. And I guess you could say that guns sometimes are, or overcompensating, maybe the Napoleon complex. But with reality in this country, when we look at the NRA, which is mostly white in membership, and does benefit from the manufacture and sale of guns, and when we look at who patronizes gun shows and who's selling, and the majority of that composite, and yes, that is the majority of our overall population, we can't ignore the fact that before Newtown, I, as a Democrat, was floored that all of a sudden the NRA would want to pay for more armed officers, which there were in Columbine, by the way, armed officers in that school. And it's almost anything but the gun. And then those on the right, my buddies like Lars, think all of us on the left just want to take away guns, take away ammunition, where most of us, myself included, say, look, we got to look at everything. And this is a multi-comprehensive, multifaceted approach that is
These
needed
ladies don't
to protect
necessarily
our
think we have to
nation
look at everything.
and our children.
They're not talking about mental health. They're talking about white guys who need to
White guys, but I do
I'll
think
give you the
it's
final
valid
word,
to
Lars,
look
and I
at
got to
that.
run.
All right, Megan, I think you'd have to consult with Tina Larson about any alleged incapacity. But with
I don't
regard
think
to
I'll be
race,
doing that.
go and ask black leaders in America what it was that protected them from Klan lynchings in the 40s and 50s, and why black Americans in the South organized some of the first NRA chapters, because they understood that a black man with a gun was a good defense against a white Klan member.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Interesting segment, as always. Lars, Leslie, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.